Well, I want to start off by saying, I have to honestly tell you the way it was. It was that it was that I drove Margaret and my kids in what I call a living hell for them. It was not good. Very tough times, dark hours, um, hmm, very difficult moments in dealing with the disclosure, my past in relation to the residential school system. Um, for about the first 12 years of our marriage, I never talked to Margaret about the abuse that I had encountered, the abuse that I had endured. In particular, there was never any mention of the sexual abuse. Um, that was hidden inside me. I didn't share it with my mother or my father. I didn't share it with Margaret. It was something, it was a hidden secret that I couldn't tell her. I didn't know how, and at the time thinking it was best just to be left alone. So picture that long silence in our relationship. Yes, I did talk to her about residential school. I did talk to her about being taken away from my parents in 1963 to 1969, living in a residential school. I told her what it was like, but not in any great detail. And particularly the abuse, the physical and sexual abuse that happened to students. It's something that I really didn't talk to her. I didn't talk to her at all about that. Nor did I hear that kind of talk amongst former students at the residential school system. Um, at the time it was almost taboo to talk about it. Um, it was too painful. Um, People didn't want to deal with it. Uh, Many of us who went through that system, a lot of us would mask our pain through alcohol abuse, drug abuse, abusing others, and living this silent pain. But that was obvious. But nobody really delved into that pain in any meaningful way.
Garnet, can I ask for specifics? Did you do that with Margaret and your kids? Did you
Yes.
go to the bar?
I went to the bar. I drank a lot. I make no bones about admitting that I was a terrible father at that time. Um, my my kids suffered through a lot in terms of my drinking, my partying. Um, in many ways, it was like it was a great time. It was a wonderful time. Um, Only to deal with a lot of awful hangovers, and as the hangovers occurred, getting into more depression and 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 anger. Anger was one thing that was almost controlling my life. Really angry at a lot of things. I was angry at the church in terms of my memories, my spiritual confusion. I was mad at the government. Thinking, how in the world could they ever, why in the world would they ever want to destroy a family? Why would they want to destroy so many kids? And and looking out and seeing fellow survivors, fellow students go through the same pain where they were abusing themselves, they were abusing their so-called loved ones. Um, there was just all this turmoil, internal turmoil that affected how individuals related to their families, um, communities being dysfunctional. Um, and a lot of abuse sexually that lingered on, that continued, um, alcohol abuse, and so on. I grew up in Lac Seul in the 70s, watching my own community go through hell, you know? And where did that come from? It was silent. And of course, nobody really dealt with it. I saw a lot of pain in those days. My peers, adults, grandmothers, grandfathers, crying when they were drunk or when they were under the influence of alcohol, not being themselves, and yet watching this pain unfold, unravel, just pouring out in tears as that was the only way to deal with that pain. I watched that. It was sad. And I began to do that. And and in some situations, that pain translated into a lot of abuse, violence, and sometimes we even faced death, violent deaths, in our communities. People being shot, stabbed, and it was horrific.